If a thriving capitalist economy depends on one thing, it's competition, right? But to listen to Andrew Cameron's podcast, Monopolies Killed My Hometown, that's not what's happening here. It goes deep on why competition isn't what it once was or could be. Andrew Cameron is co-founder of CAMP, the Canadian Anti-Monopoly Project. And he joins us now from Amherst, Nova Scotia, to explain. Andrew, it's great to have you on our program. How are you doing?
I'm great. Thank you very much, Steve.
Pleasure to meet you here. Let's start with the Rogers-Shaw deal, because that's going to affect millions of Canadians potentially. In December, the Canadian Competition Tribunal ruled that the merger of these two telecom giants, Rogers and Shaw, could go through. How did you react to that announcement?
It's what I expected to happen. You know, I was holding out hope throughout the whole process that maybe this time we wouldn't allow this merger to go through and that we would try to maintain competition like in the cell phone market and the cable markets, but it was always just a faint hope. I wasn't surprised that it was approved.
A faint hope because you think if Canada were to do the right thing, it would disallow this merger?
Yes. And this time was different. Like the commissioner of the Competition Bureau, Matthew Boswell, and his team at the Competition Bureau tried to block the merger pretty much from day one, which is not what's happened over the last 35 or 40 years. It was they acted out of character in trying to block the merger outright, not by offering suggestions of how they could modify the merger to not reduce competition too much. They just wanted to block it outright.
And that was, as you point out, a very unusual move for that to take place. What arguments in that process did you sort of hang your hat onto and say, yeah, that makes sense, they've got it right?
Well, it was one, they started from the spot that this will probably drive up the prices of cell phone bills. That's kind of where they started from, and that eventually was going to harm consumers. And that's where they started from. And they figured even if, my recollection is, even if they divested part of it and created another smaller competitor, we would still see increased prices to consumers, which is a good enough reason for me just to right off the bat say, no, this isn't a good merger for Canadians.
Now, you say that as if you are 100% sure that that's what will eventually take place. Can you be 100% sure that that's what will happen?
No, I can't. And that's an interesting way to phrase it, because the process of when the two companies like Rogers and Shaw come in to merge, that's basically what they're doing, is they're coming in and they have their experts, the economists and lawyers that they come in and they argue in front of in this case, they argued in front of the tribunal, the competition tribunal, that allowing this to merge would not cause prices to increase for Canadians for wireless cell phone packages and things like that. That was their argument. So they were predicting that it's not going to increase prices and that the merger would be fine. So if I can't predict it to 100%, they can't predict it to 100%. It's such a complex transaction.
Well, here's one thing we still know, and that is that even though I guess this deal was supposed to have been completed a couple of weeks ago, there's still one sort of door left to open, and that door belongs to a politician. It belongs to a cabinet minister, the industry minister, François-Philippe Champagne, who ultimately has to sign off on this because there is some spectrums that need to trade hands here, wireless spectrum licenses, and he's the guy who gets to say yay or nay on that. Okay, if you were advising him at this moment, what would you be telling him to do?
As me as a person, I would say just don't allow them to, don't transfer the spectrums, kill the deal this way. That's what I would like to see as a person. I mean, I think the reality is politically, we have the Competition Tribunal, which is like a federal body, has approved it. The CRTC has approved it. It went to the Federal Court of Appeals, who denied Competition Bureau's appeal. So it's kind of been approved by three other significant federal bodies. It would be a political risk, I think, for Minister Champagne at this point to step up and be the person that says no.
Do you think he's in a risky taking mood these days?
No.
So as far as you're concerned, this is probably a fait accompli.
Yeah, that's what I would think.
Let's go back to where we started. You sort of suggested at the beginning that none of this has really surprised you. This is the way Canadian big businesses and the institutions that oversee them have done business for so many decades in this country. Has there been anything about this merger and the process that has eventuated from the announcement of it that has actually surprised you?
That's an interesting question. And I think the biggest surprise for me, again, like I said before, was that Competition Commissioner Matthew Boswell tried to block the merger outright, and that he didn't enter into negotiations with Rogers and Shaw on, if you do this, then, we'll accept the deal. We will, because that's historically how it's been. It's the Competition Bureau has tried to work with merging parties to make sure that, as they determine it, that there's not a substantial lessening of competition. A lessening of competition is okay as long as it's not substantial. What that difference is, I'm not 100% sure. I can't quite describe it. That's where we get into all the process for reviewing these mergers is we always use the term technocratic. It's very expert driven. It's very driven by economists and lawyers, and it's become very opaque, so that regular people, regular Canadians, don't understand or are told that they don't know enough to be involved in this conversation anymore.
Well, here's an example Canadians may remember, and that is, there were a bunch of media outlets that did some merging and divesting and so on several years ago. And, one of the deals you hear is, okay, we'll let this merger take place, but you've got to sell off that TV station and this radio station and so on and so forth. And that kind of thing happened. But you're quite right. The chess pieces on the chessboard sort of get moved in what can look like an arbitrary fashion. Do you think, in your view, is there a way to kind of write down the rules of the road so that everybody understands going in, if you merge, this is what will have to transpire?
Yes, there is, because we've done it before and we've known that before. And I think one other interesting point on the mergers is talking about, the media mergers where they have to sell off a TV station or a radio station, or, for example, Bell, MTS in Manitoba. In 2009, which is the last time the Competition Act was reviewed, they changed the merger review timeframe from 3 years down to 1 year. So basically, the Competition Bureau only has 1 year after a merger is completed to go investigate and follow up to see if what was predicted actually happened.
Is that not enough time?
No, not at all. You think about the claims. So, for example, this claims with the Rogers and Shaw, if wireless cell phone prices don't go up within the next year, then we've assumed that everything's fine. If in 3 years' time they go up, we don't go back to look to see if that made a difference or see if that happened. So that's the other thing that I find is we don't go back to investigate these mergers to see if the claims that went through or claims that they made were going to happen actually happened. We just, after a year, say, okay, everything's fine and carry on.
I take your point on that, but I wonder whether after 3 years, yes, you will have abundant evidence to decide whether or not the promises they made came true. But at that point, is it not pretty tough to get the toothpaste back in the tube after 3 years if you've decided, actually, this didn't work out well at all?
No, not at all. I think, I come from the private sector. I run my own business, and businesses sell divisions all the time. Businesses break themselves up. They sell off, I come from the real estate industry. Businesses sell apartment buildings. Businesses sell underperforming assets. It happens all the time, and it's not always the easiest, but it is possible and it is doable.
Okay, let's put a little flesh on that bone, and we'll go back to the example we just gave. If at some point somebody is able to write down the rules of the road, meaning if these companies merge, here's what's going to have to take place. You got to sell this off, you got to sell that off, you're allowed to hang on to this, you can't hang on to that. Who writes those rules down, and how do they get enforced?
Right. So I would want to frame those rules a little bit differently. And I would prefer it to be something very straightforward that everybody understands. So the term that we use sort of in this space is called kind of making bright line rules. So it's if, and you said it at, and say if you have 30% of the market share, you're just not allowed to buy anybody else. You have too much of the market share, and we just assume you buying anybody else is anti-competitive and will reduce competition in the industry.
Where does the 30% come from? Is there something magic about that number?
No, I'm just picking one.
Okay.
I think other people could argue maybe it's 35, maybe it's 40, maybe it's 20. But like if we pick a number, we pick a market share, and we leave it at that point, with the ability for companies to make an argument to the Competition Bureau if there is another reason for that the merger should be allowed to go through. And so that would be one way to structure it so that it's everybody knows that if once you're at a certain size of a business, basically you can't buy anybody else. That's it. And that's a way to maintain competition in pretty much all industries and all markets. And so it would be the competition. Well, it would be the federal government that would write the rules of this in the Competition Act, and then it would be to the Competition Bureau to be the body that enforces the rules.
All right, let's, for argument's sake, I'll give you the other side of the argument here, and you tell me what you think. Now, this doesn't work so well when it comes to the telecommunications situation because it is a very restricted market and not any player from anywhere in the world can play in it. But if you look at broadcast or television or streaming services, for example, and if we're going to have a rule that says no Canadian player can have more than 30% of a market share, otherwise we get into quasi-monopolistic tendencies here and it's not good for the consumer, those companies might very well come back to you, Andrew, and they might say, well, that would be true if the only universe we were worried about here was Canada. But we're not just competing against Canadian broadcasters, streaming services, etc. We're also competing against everybody else in the world, and therefore we need to be bigger in order to play in that bigger ocean. Does that have any credence with you?
Yes and no. And I think I look at it this way. If you're going to train to compete at the highest level in any sport or any activity like that, you want to play tough games all along, right? You need to be challenged along the way so that you get better and you get stronger and you get more effective and just better, that you become a better team, a better organization. And the flip side of that argument is basically let us be monopolies in Canada, but then they don't have to compete. So they don't develop those skills. They don't develop that to then go out and be able to compete on the international stage.
Well, they would say we're competing plenty on the international stage. We may have a big position in Canada, but that's what helps us compete against American interests or French interests or British interests. You're not buying that?
Yeah. No, because the flip side of that as well is it prevents other Canadians from competing, right? It's once you have some players that are dominating industry, it becomes hard for new players to come in to compete. And it restricts opportunities for innovation and new businesses, or again, with the media example, new people looking to get into the industry. There's fewer opportunities for them to come in. So yes, these large companies will compete internationally. I don't buy it because at the end of the day, it still leaves me behind and sort of leaves small towns and smaller organizations behind.
Well, that leads me nicely to where I want to go next, which is to give a shout out to your podcast, which is called Monopolies Killed My Hometown, Amherst, Nova Scotia, where you're coming to us from today. Where'd the idea from this podcast come from?
So it's an interesting one. I graduated from high school in 1999 and I moved away and I was gone for 15 years. And when I came back in 2015 with my family, like Amherst was the same, like it's the same town and still here, but something felt off, something felt different. Like there just felt like there was something missing in town, and I couldn't explain it. I couldn't identify it. And then right at the start of when COVID hit, I read a couple books and it was talking about consolidation in businesses and like one was on the American anti-monopoly history, and I started reading that. And I started going, oh, this is it. This is what's happened to us. And I started looking around more in town and thinking about, okay, what was here when I was growing up, and what's not here? What are the things that I'm missing? And it's the businesses, and it's the people that come with the businesses, and sort of, it's really kind of like the spirit is kind of gone from the
Because
town.
which big companies came in as quasi monopolies and took over a particular sector?
Well, so Walmart, like I come from, again, a small business retail family. Um, like my grandfather was a traveling men's workwear salesperson for years. And all of his clients are gone because he would go around to all the small independent retail stores, right? And those are all gone. So, there's the impacts on the retail, like um, when I was growing up, there was two malls that were full, mostly of independent stores, and there were chain stores as well. But now they're gone, to be replaced by Amazon, Walmart, um, larger stores like that. There was a lot of farming around here, and those have all been consolidated and merged into larger organizations. So we've lost a lot of the, I want to say, smaller, independent, locally run businesses that, for whatever reason, well, not for whatever reason, that aren't able to compete and survive in an unfair economy.
We know that after the fact. Do you think there was anything that could have been done at the time to prevent these larger players from taking over, creating these quasi-monopolies, and essentially changing the nature or the spirit of your hometown in a way that makes you not recognize it like you did when you were a kid?
Yes, because we did it. We did it for probably about 50 years. Before the Competition Act in 1986, we had the Combines Investigation Act, and there were problems with it, and it probably needed to be modified, but it still was focused on, for example, fairness in the economy, not efficiency. It was focused on protecting small businesses. It was focused on protecting workers. And so the focus of it was different. And I think if we had maintained that focus of like I said, the Competition Act, which to me, the Competition Act is about, we'll say, sort of allocating power throughout our economy. Who gets to, who has the power and who can use it is really what this is all about. And with the Combines Investigation Act, we used to really enforce anti-competitive activities like predatory pricing, right? That a large company couldn't basically lose money on something forever to drive their competitors out of business. It's just, you weren't allowed to do it. And it was easily enforced if that was the case. But in 1986, with the Competition Act, and since then, you can start arguing that predatory pricing is actually good and efficient for consumers because that gives consumers a lower price.
Well, I want to go even back further. Let's go back to 200 years before Canada even existed as the country it is today. The Hudson's Bay Company was founded, I guess, in 1670 or something like that.
Yeah.
And, the Bay felt as permanent as Canada. It was a massive company with a big monopoly and owned just, tons of land. And I wonder if our view of Hudson's Bay, the company, has shaped our attitude towards monopolies ever since.
Yes, I think so. And I think we mentioned right at the top, I helped found an organization, the Canadian Anti-Monopoly Project. And one of the reasons I got involved in that was helping to rediscover our Canadian story. We tend to drift the way of the Americans towards sort of antitrust and competition issues, but we have our very own take on it and our own twist on it. And I think you're right. We are more comfortable with larger companies than perhaps the Americans are. And I am too. Like, I always think of like growing up Zellers and Kmart and the Bay and Eaton's. Um, if we stick with retail, they all existed in an ecosystem with the independent retailers. And that's because there were rules to maintain like a fair economy. So, and I'm okay with the larger companies if we also have the rules that, make sure that it's fair for the smaller businesses and the independent businesses and the new businesses to start and compete.
Well, now I follow up with my smart aleck question, which is, okay, but the fact of the matter is Hudson's Bay today is not nearly the behemoth that it was during the time of Confederation and before. And doesn't that suggest that you still got to have game in this country? You can't just be a monopoly. Monopolies don't last forever. You got to have some game, or like everybody else, you're in trouble. Isn't that fair to say?
Yes, I agree. And I think, like, if you go back 30 years, 20, 30, 40 years, there was a lot of competition. Again, like talking retail. But right now, there's very little competition anymore, even at that level. Like, if Walmart's doing such a large volume of sales and Amazon's doing the same, that they're not competing. And I think it was like going way back when, I believe it was like Adam Smith, The Wealth of Nations, one of the original economists, always said, I think his comment was, leaders of a business, like leaders in the business industry, don't get together for social calls. Basically, they get together and they talk about business. And there was another quote, I can't remember who said it right off the bat, but it was basically, once an industry gets small enough that all the leaders of the industry can sit around a table, they will. Right? And I was thinking about this the other day, going back to the Roger Shaw example. There was an editorial in the Globe from 2021 talking about how in the 1990s, Ted Rogers and J.R. Shaw met and divided up basically the cable industry. They said, Shaw, you will take the Western Canada, Rogers will take Eastern Canada, and they just made that decision and did it. If there was more competition in the industry, they couldn't make that decision. Right? That's sort of my thought, that we think there's competition in a lot of these industries now, but once you start digging into it, there's not.
Okay, take that theory and fast forward to today. Do you really believe Amherst, Nova Scotia is dead as a result of all of this monopoly?
So I get a fair amount of grief from people here. No, the town is not dead. The title's a little bit of, I'm going to say, kind of a marketing, a way to kind of cut through the noise, get people in to listen to it. We're not dead. We're holding our own. We're fighting. We're trying. But there's systemic problems that are impacting sort of all small towns and even smaller neighborhoods in larger cities. And that comes from this lack of competition. So we're holding our own, but when you start looking at it, our average age is higher, is I think in the 50s, right? We're not necessarily growing. We have some stores still operating downtown. And that's why I think, like, we're holding our own, and people are here working really hard to keep what we've got and keep what's happening and what's working here. And I think that is absolutely important, that we individually, like in our community, we work hard to do that and to maintain it and support locally and support all of our local businesses. But for me, one of the reasons I started the podcast was to talk about these systemic competition issues, right? So that if we can fix some of these systemic competition issues, then the local efforts for shop local campaigns or downtown revitalization and these things will have more of an impact and more of a chance to succeed, and again sort of strengthen our community.
Well, I got to say, I take my hat off to you because, how do I put this? There's not exactly a lot of competition in podcasts dealing with competition policy. So in that respect, I appreciate your efforts to kind of educate the rest of us as to what it's all about. Having said that, there are a lot of things in this world today that a lot of people who do what you and I do for a living want people to care about. And I'm wondering how tough it is to get Canadians who've got busy lives to care a lot about something called competition policy, even though it may be in their interest to do so. But I mean, Andrew, come on. I mean, you know what I'm getting at here.
I know exactly what you're getting at. And I think we're in a moment where people are starting to think about this and remember this, right? And this is like, we knew the problems that came from having too much corporate concentration. Like, we knew this, and then we sort of forgot them. Like, in my podcast, I spent, I think, 6 episodes delving through a report from 1935. It was called the Royal Commission on Price Spreads. And this report came about because in 1935, in the middle of the Depression, I think the price of bread increased significantly, but the amount farmers were receiving declined. So the government struck a royal commission. They went out and they investigated the whole economy. And in the introduction to this report, basically they said, we thought we were going to have to do all these different reports because we were looking at so many different industries, but we found that the root cause behind all these problems is essentially corporate concentration. And so we knew this. So I actually think it's just reminding people about this. And I also think people understand and get when things aren't fair, right? Like, that's something people just get and they just understand. And that's where we've gotten to, is that without rules protecting, small businesses, like, without those rules, the economy it's just not fair.
We are happy to remind people that you've got a podcast called Monopolies Killed My Hometown, which may be a little provocative in its title, but it does talk about something that we need to know a lot more about. So, Andrew Cameron, we're grateful you spent some time with us on TVO tonight. Many thanks.
Thank you very much, Steve.
The Agenda with Steve Paikin is made possible through generous philanthropic contributions from viewers like you. Thank you for supporting TVO's journalism.